All right. Hey, Brian, good to have you on the show with us. How are you doing?
Jerry, it's so awesome to be on your podcast. I can't believe it. Like we had this little pre-call and I feel like I've known you for years. It's so
Right?
cool.
It does feel that way. And I really appreciate that because most guests, I mean, we just jump in on the day of and we spend some time getting to know each other. And when you do a 30-minute call prior, it's like, yeah, that does make a difference. It's like, it
I
really helps shape like where we're going to go once we dive in. So I love that.
I had the same feeling and since we chatted, I just have been kind of counting down to this because I was looking forward to connecting with just you again and your amazing audience. So thanks for the opportunity.
Awesome. Awesome. And I appreciate Interview Valet. They're the folks who connected us. So Tom Schwab and Karen and their whole team. I think your rep is Melissa.
Yes, she is, and she's been phenomenal. The whole group, same experience on this end has just been
Yeah.
incredible. So
Now Tom was on the show years ago, and we hit him up with like a funny question about like what was his favorite Renee Zellweger movie, but he was prepared for it because Karen did her homework on us and said, "Oh, they got into this thing where they're asking their guests like, what's your favorite Renee Zellweger movie?" And so he came in ready, and like even though he was ready, he still I think he spit out like Jerry Maguire. Well, actually, that was his legit answer. He almost spit out Bridget Jones's Diary, and but
nice.
yeah, we since then got away from that. But yeah, we're not gonna hit you up with that on a yeah.
Oh, shoo.
Yeah, they know we retired that question.
Awesome.
But now you're calling in from Ohio, is that right?
Yes, I live in Columbus, Ohio. So yeah, it's kind of some sunny weather today, which we've been waiting for a few weeks. So it's
Nice.
nice.
Yeah, we had our winter's starting to come to an end here in the Texas area. So like it was like in the 30s for a while, and now it's like in the 70s and 90s. We're like, this is so weird. It just dropped back down to the 50s. We're like, okay, but the sun's out at least. But that's not why we got you on the show to talk about the weather in different parts of the United States.
Right.
Although you would think it when you listen to all these intros of all these shows. Now, one of the things that drew me to you was that you've done work as a hospice chaplain. And so tell us about like that work just a little bit and how it like opened up your eyes to like how important it is we live our life to the fullest potential.
Oh, absolutely. So, I kind of given over to the dark side these days because I'm a healthcare executive and I work for a really great hospital system in Ohio, and it's great. But I started my career as this hospice chaplain and spent years and years just visiting people at the bedside who are dealing with serious illness, and in a lot of cases, most cases, confronting their mortality. So learn so many lessons about just how we're wired, how God created us, and really the lives He intended us to live. So I'm kind of the guy that's shining the flashlight down on our internal equipment and shouting it from the hilltops, like, "Hey, we've got these really cool features, and I want to tell folks about it." So
Yeah. Yeah. Cause you got so, oh man, I want to jump right into the next question. I'm like, wait, no. So, as you're doing that work as a hospice chaplain back in, I want to say back in the day, it was just a few years back. Um, what was something that really stood out to you about, how they've lived their lives and, maybe like the things they were most proud of and maybe the things they regret the most? Like, was there like a trend that kind of came out as you were, at bedside to bedside?
there is, Jerry. I think there's way too many of us that get to the end and we've got these regrets. And I just know after doing that work for a long time, that's not the life, God really intended us to have. He created us and hardwired us with these components to know that we're loved and to live really fulfilled lives. And the interesting thing is that He created us in this paradise existence. And we know the story of Adam and Eve. We know they kind of wrecked the plan, right? And
Yeah.
we got kicked out of the garden. But God never went back and reorganized our internal equipment, our internal components. So what blows me away is that all of the design features that we need and have for living great lives, they're still exactly where God installed them.
Hmm.
And it's kind of up to us to dust those off and plug them back in and bring those lives God intended back online. And that's probably the biggest theme I've seen, at the bedside, is those folks that, you know, either miss that in their lives and kind of had those regrets. And so it's nice, even in the final hours, to say, you know what, there's that equipment is still there and
Yeah.
you still, had a wonderful life. And so that's probably the biggest lesson, I think.
Yeah. What are some of those equipment pieces that we are kind of wired with?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Now you're talking my language. So I like to talk about spark plugs because I really think our internal equipment is hardwired in a way where our good words are our spark plugs.
Mm.
They really are. And you see the effects of them in our lives. Like you pay someone a compliment and their cheeks flush red, or you say something really positive and you can tell their posture kind of straightens up. They feel good, or something funny that makes you laugh. I think those good words are almost this electricity that makes us move in life. And I compare it to a funny story I had in my childhood. So do you remember Dukes of Hazzard? Did you watch that
Yes.
show?
My parents hated it when I tried to climb in through the windows of the car. It'd be like Luke and Duke. Uh,
Yeah,
Bo and Luke.
yeah,
Bo and Luke.
Bo and Luke, absolutely. So yeah, that gives away my age too, right? When I was a kid, that was the deal. And for one Christmas, I got this Dukes of Hazzard race car track set,
Oh,
and it's old school, right? It's like that track with two little grooves around it,
yes.
and it had the car with the little post that stuck down from it, and you put that car down in the groove. And then the high-tech remote, do you remember this? The high-tech remote was just this one little button that your
Yes.
thumb pushed. So I think I got that for Christmas one year. And around that time, my dad had shown us the trick with the old 9-volt batteries, the square batteries with the little posts, and you put your tongue between them and it would
Yes.
tickle your nose. So I thought in my, genius early years in life, hey, if a 9-volt battery is that much fun, how much more fun would the Dukes of Hazzard race car track be if you put your tongue on it?
Oh
So
no.
I was a little smarter because I decided, let's try it out on my sister first. And she was trusting enough or gullible enough, maybe a mixture of the two, to actually do it. So puts her tongue on the track, my thumb goes down on the remote, and she gets this really watery eyed stare, which I think we know now is called electrocution.
Oh no. Oh
But I think that's kind of the way we are. Like the electricity is there, it's flowing, and it's really powerful. And when we connect with it, we see the effects of it. It's invisible, but you can see the effects in people's lives and in our own lives. And to me, those good words are those little spark plug moments of electricity that move us forward
yeah.
in life and get us maybe even out of our stuck places in life.
Yeah. And there's a lot of research around like leadership. Like when you give positive comments and positive reinforcement to the behaviors you want to see, as opposed to always point out the things you don't want to see. People are wanting to get that dopamine fix that comes from the compliment that comes their way, and they want more of it. So they will do more of the thing you said. Hey, Tom, thank you for getting that report done in the right format and to me at 1 o'clock, because that gave me time to get ready for this 2 o'clock meeting, and we all looked like heroes. Now, Tom is always going to
Totally.
get that report to me by 1 o'clock and
Right.
is probably going to go above and beyond to make sure that not only is the data in the format you want, but now you've got notes, like Tom's notes on the side of what all these things really mean. So now he's scripting you with like the easy button in a way. And then you just keep complimenting Tom over and over and over again. And he's just going to keep doing it over and over again because he wants to get more of that. And so when you say that we're wired that way, like we are not just
Right.
spiritually wired that way, we are physically wired that way too. So it's just really neat to hear spark
Yeah.
plugs being that piece of equipment. What's another piece of equipment that's in us that, we're just waiting to activate?
I those spark plugs kind of work both ways in our equipment, because certainly our good words move us forward. But what I've found sitting at the bedside of folks that are dealing with things at the end of their lives is the bad words really held us back.
Oh yeah.
And in a lot of cases, Jerry, it's one or two bad words. It's the, they usually start with the not, I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not talented enough. It's amazing how many of us get to the end of our story and we're still holding on to those couple of, bad word statements.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to, if you take that not out, it leaves us with this powerful piece of equipment, I think, that functions. Take not out and all of a sudden you are smart enough, you're talented enough, we're beautiful enough. And I think that's what God intended. I don't think not was
Yeah.
in our initial hardwiring.
Yeah. It just got in there. I mean, we see it in the story of Adam and Eve again. Like, surely you would not die if you partook of that fruit from the tree. I'm paraphrasing, guys, but I wanted to fit not in
Powerful.
there.
Right.
uh, and
I have a
yeah,
really funny story about that too, if you don't mind me
go
sharing.
for it.
But
Yeah.
so my daughter, we have this big bedtime ritual ever since she was really tiny, and do bedtime stories. We're big on that. And so we captured one of these stories in a book, and got it published, put out on Amazon and everything. And it's just this real funny kids story, right? Bedtime story. And we decided we'd take that and share it with her school. She was really proud. She was
Hmm.
about fourth grade at the time. And her teacher thought, hey, wouldn't it be great if my daughter Casey came and read that story to the kindergartners at school? And proud papa moment. Absolutely. That'd be great. She was excited about it. Teacher was excited about it. Principal got involved, said, hey, why not, instead of one kindergarten class, let's do them all. Let's get all of them together and she
Nice.
can read this book. So everything was going great. Only one problem, Jerry. She read the book. So in the book, there are these two words. One is butt and the other is crack. When you put them together, you get butt
A
crack.
crack.
And I found myself having a book that we wrote being banned for foul language in this Christian
Oh well.
school. So I think that's kind of how it is. We let those one or two bad words keep us from sharing our entire story with this great audience that is our families and the
Mhm.
people around us. So I
Yeah.
think that's a piece of our equipment that maybe gets fouled up sometimes that we've got to clean out.
Yeah. We never really think about like why is that a foul word, or why is it we're holding up? Yeah. It's like we never examine the why behind that. We just kind of knee jerk react and just do. It's going back to like when you were talking about how we just insert the word not. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not happy enough. I'm not funny enough. Where did that come from? Like, at what point did you insert that into your vocabulary? Because when you look at children when they are in kindergarten, they can do anything. They are
So true.
artists. But when you look at their pictures, it's like your picture kind of sucks, kid. But you don't say that. It's like you're like, prove me wrong. I know how to use crayons. Do you?
Right.
I put stuff on paper. Did you? And like so,
In your
kids.
face.
Yeah, it's like kids can do anything and they don't care what you say. They're going to prove you wrong and they just go and do with passion and excitement. But somewhere from that age to adulthood, we insert all those knots like I'm not pretty enough. And we kind of let the world beat us down and we let other people insert their, I guess, negativity into us. And then it just becomes a part
Yeah.
of us.
It really becomes a part of our core, which is the sad part. I was reading this story in this news. It's an older story, but I was reading about it just recently, and it was about this house that caught fire in Louisiana. I don't know if you
Oh,
saw this story or not,
no.
but I guess this fire department responds. They do what fire departments do, and they dump these hoses of water on this fire, and they start to put the flames out, and they realize that the fire burned until it got to the attic, and then it stopped, and all the drywall's burned away. The only thing left is the bare 2x4s, And this family, when they built this house on the 2x4s, had written in this Sharpie marker these scriptures. And the firemen show up and they're shining their flashlights through the smoke after everything's cleared. And the only thing left standing really is these 2x4s with these words, from
Wow.
the Bible on them. And I think if we looked at our own framework, our own 2x4s, we'd find some truth written there, maybe some things that are resistant to flames.
Yeah.
And we'd probably find some words that we've written there ourselves that maybe aren't as true. So I guess I think we need to kind of go in and maybe do some underlining of the true words and maybe some erasing of the bad stuff so we can move
Yeah.
forward.
Oh yeah. I remember previous church I attended in the town I used to live in. The pastor's wife talked about, writing down the things that do hold you back, like in a list, and then tear it out of your notebook, wherever you wrote it from, and set it on fire. Get rid of it. You're
Oh,
you're you're
wow.
removing it from your life physically. Because I mean, once you write something down, it's out of the nebulous world of your mind, and you've now created something tangible, which is in this case a list. And now
Yeah.
you're truly destroying or getting rid of this tangible thing, which is all the negative thoughts you've had of yourself. And I was like, wow, that is pretty powerful.
Powerful.
And I remember doing that exercise, and it was uplifting. And yeah, and then replacing it with words that are the opposite of, like, I'm not smart enough, but I'm determined. And
Oh,
I,
good one.
you know, I'm not skinny, I can be active. And it's like, it was
Yeah.
like replace it with not just I can or I will, but I am and I
I
am. And
am.
I was like, wow, that is very powerful. And I remember talking to somebody who said, like, if you want goals to be successful for you, like to actually achieve them and be achievable, you talk about them in the present tense as if you already are. And I thought, I'm just now, I haven't thought about this interview in a while. When I say a while, I
Yeah.
mean in a few months, but because it was just less than a year ago. But I remember thinking that's kind of how God sees us, not as what we can be or what we've been. He sees us as if we already are. And I'm like,
Oh, that's
wow,
good.
wow.
Yeah, because really in the Garden of Eden, he looked around and he said, this is good stuff,
Yeah.
guys. Like he's pleased. And I don't know why, but if you're like me, we have these times in our lives where we go back and we kind of second guess that. And we
Yeah.
say, I hear what you said back there in Genesis, but I'm not so feeling it today. So I don't know why we do that. It's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just so down on ourselves. And it's like we don't have to be. And there are things we can just surrender. And by doing that, we like surrender the not words or the negative impulse, negative self talk, and replace it with some positive stuff and some truths. And yeah, it's just that alone, I think, is really cool. So you got a book coming out called Eden Equipment.
I do. And
Yeah,
it's all, it's kind of these funny and emotional and powerful stories, kind of, a couple of the ones we chatted about here today, and then so much more. And it's really about discovering that equipment, that hardwiring inside of ourselves. And I'm so excited for folks to read those stories and engage with the message, and hopefully, get to a point where they can move forward and not have regrets and not have those I'm not statements holding them back. So I'm
yeah.
really excited about it.
And you co-wrote that with somebody, is that right?
Well, I wrote it and I had this really amazing opportunity to be coached through the process
Got it.
with Bob Goff, if you know that name.
Yeah,
He's a big guy in nonfiction Christian writing, done some amazing work. And it was just an honor just to work with him. We spent about 7 months connecting, through each month and chatting about what we really should feature, in this book about that kind of equipment, what we've been wired with. So
yeah. I may have to check him out because I've not talked to him ever, but a
yeah,
lot of the authors who've been on Beyond the Rut have been connected to Bob. It's like 6 degrees of separation, but it's like
right.
1 degree. Like if I go back and listen to enough author episodes, there's a lot of degrees connecting me to Bob Goff, and so that's pretty cool. Um, Now, we were talking about like spark plugs being one type of equipment. Is there another type that we could be aware of or should be aware of that we're already wired with?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so many.
Yeah.
It's
Pick one.
I think, we've got these, it's almost like adapters, right? And there's perfect fits for different things. And we have these components that they really were meant to function with each other,
Yeah.
you know. And I think a lot of that's true. Certainly God looked around the garden and he said it's not good for us to be alone. And so he brings Eve on the scene. And I think a lot of our equipment's designed for that. We're really designed to help each other in this world. So there's a lot of those features in the book that it chats about. One story that I love that I could share is just real short. Is this story? I saw this news story, again, another news story. Not all news is bad, but we saw this other news story where this guy in Australia was getting on this train, and he's on the platform. Train arrives, train doors open. He goes to step on the train and his foot falls just perfectly between the gap of the platform and the train. And when I say falls, like he goes all the way down, like as far
Mm,
down as you can go, with one leg just completely sunk into this platform.
wow.
Problem, because train's on a schedule, right? All these people are on the train, and there's a fear factor, because what happens if this train takes off? It's really bad news for this guy. Conductor luckily catches on, and the solution, I think, is what's so powerful, Jerry. Like the conductor says, everybody off the train. Everybody gets off the train, and they all push against the side of the train. And all of these people pushing against the side of the train tilts the train inches. Like it's minute, but it's enough where that guy can get his leg out.
Wow.
And I think that's the message. Is we've got times in our lives when we're stuck where sometimes we're the people on with our leg in the gap for sure, but a lot of
Yeah.
times we're people on the platform or people on the train, and we need to recognize that we need to step off the train and maybe put our shoulders into the problems that other people are having, other people are stuck with. And I might not be able to move that train, but if we get everybody together, it's enough,
Yeah.
So I think
Wow.
that's a big part of our equipment too. Is it's not a solo act. We're just designed to be in harmony. And some of that harmony is, I'm going to get off the train when you get stuck. I hope you do the same for me, Jerry. And let's put our shoulder against this thing and see if we can move it.
Yeah. It's that that cliche. We're better together. It's
Better together.
that's evidence of that right there. Like, we're not perfect people. We're imperfect people, perfectly loved, and we're better together. It's just like, yes, there's the example right there. Um,
Yeah.
and I just think about all the times that we're just in it for ourselves. Like, we're inward mindseted, and we're like, it's about my career, my this, my that, my achievements, my success. And when you listen to and talk with folks who we think are successful, they'll tell you, no, I got here because other people lifted me up. And let
So
me tell you about
true.
this person. Let me tell you about this person. Let me tell you about this group of people. And, if we want success, I think in our family life, our finances, our fitness, even like and especially our spiritual life, we've got to include other people and be open to that. Yeah, it might be messy, but it's like what you're saying. We're better together.
We are. And it's funny. I think our equipment is so sophisticated, we don't recognize it. And it almost looks like something out of a cartoon.
Right?
Um, I remember, like, back in college, we had this hornet's nest outside one of our windows, and it was a pain because our dorm wasn't air conditioned, and you kind of had a choice when you came back to your room. You could open the window and you could sleep in danger knowing hornets would come in with the cold breeze, or you could close the window and sleep kind of in what was now an easy bake oven. Yeah, not pleasant.
Put some eggs out before you
um
go to bed.
yeah, totally. And one of my friends decided in his wisdom, this is college, so keep that in mind for wisdom, but he said, I saw in a cartoon once And if somebody, I guess if somebody starts with the advice I saw in a cartoon once, just you run. But he said, I saw in a cartoon once that you could take a vacuum cleaner and you could suck up, all the bees in a bee's nest. And then it's all in the vacuum cleaner bag and you just throw it away and it's good, right? So I, sad to say, thought that's a genius idea. Let's try that. So true story, full detail in this book coming out too, so if you want to check it out. But we found this vacuum and guy's dorm room, right? So finding a vacuum, that's not an easy task in and of itself. It's kind of like Loch Ness Monster, like people have seen it, they think it exists, but good luck finding it.
Yeah.
But we find this vacuum and it's ancient. It's like Moses's vacuum when he was a baby, but it powers on. We plug it into the wall, open the window, and we successfully insert the end of the vacuum cleaner nozzle into the hornet's nest. We turn it on and it's working. I mean, Jerry, you could hear like ting, 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 these things coming down the pipe in the vacuum, but it didn't quite work. I think it would have worked, but it didn't work because we forgot to make sure there was a vacuum cleaner bag in the vacuum.
Oh no.
So, in seconds, this thing had sucked up all the hornets and spit them out in the exhaust through its exhaust into our room.
Oh no.
So we had this huge problem.
We lost Johnny that day.
Right. We get outside, we close the door, we're safe, but it's still a pretty big problem. Yeah. We end up, I'll spare you all the details, but we end up putting on all of our winter coats and gloves and going to battle with these things. And we're fighting hornets with fly swatters and rolled up newspaper, right?
Oh man.
And I think that's what our equipment looks like. Sometimes we show up and we feel like all we've got is rolled up newspaper and fly swatters, when really God designed it in a way where it's enough. Like what you have is perfect and God makes up the difference. So I think we're all in the hallway and God's saying, come on in the room, guys. And we're saying, all I have is these simple tools. And he's saying, no, it's good. Come on in. You know?
It's like what you have right now is enough to get you to the next level. And I remember this, like the story of Moses sticks out to me, and I'm not expecting you to, not you, Bryan, but you listening in, to know like all the intricacies of the story of Moses. But the one thing that does stand out to me time and again is that like God's saying like, Moses, go do this. And he's like, but I'm not a good speaker. He got this brother who is. Boom. Moses, go in and talk. And he's like, I've got no magic powers. And he's like, you got a stick in your hand. Take the stick with you. And you're like,
good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough.
And then from there, like the movie The 10 Commandments was born. No kidding. That's not how it went down, folks. But the movie was based on the Bible with some embellishment.
That kid, like the kid in the Jesus shows up, feeds 5,000 people with his kid's lunch, fish and bread, and the kid didn't have a fancy degree. He didn't study a bunch. Just he showed up with his lunch. And I think that's what we're missing is our equipment is so sophisticated. Jesus just says, hey, bring your lunch and you're good enough. You got everything you need.
Yeah. And, I think that story is often told like the divinity of Jesus and how he can take what little you give him and multiply it. And I'm also thinking, what if he used that crowd of 5,000 to multiply it too? Like if I'm trying to be like all scientific and physical and natural, it's like, but still like either way, Jesus took the faith of one little person to do one little thing and he multiplied it. Whether it was he used his power and did it, or he used his influence over the crowd and they just felt compelled now, hey, if that boy can share his lunch, then I can share mine, and here's my little piece. And because they had leftovers when they were done. And
leftovers, my favorite word.
Yeah, meal prep.
No, you're right. That's so true. That's so true.
So with the book Eden Equipment, what is it you hope folks get out of it when they do read it?
So a couple of things. I hope you find some tools for moving forward, some tools for getting out of your rut, really. Some tools that help you when you get to maybe the end of your story, there aren't regrets. That's the main thing. And then there's purpose in sharing it in this format, because we've got this really powerful nonprofit we've started, Jerry, and it's all about doing that. So we've been helping folks that are recovering from trauma and from cancer, and a couple of folks, like we had a guy that fell off his roof and he was a minister and he couldn't work, and so we were able to help him with expenses. We had a lady that was going through chemo, and we helped pay her salary while she was getting back on her feet. And this nonprofit's called Boomerang Ministry, and it's all about helping people bounce back and return to that good work that they do. So the book, all the proceeds go to help folks like that. Every dollar will go to Boomerang Ministry
Wow.
and helping people bounce back. So as you sign up for the book or purchase the book, hopefully you're helping yourself, and hopefully you're helping somebody else in the process too.
That different conversation I had with my friend this morning was, we were talking about goals, and when you align them with like God's calling, you can create what's called generous goals, which I picked up from a friend of mine named Vincent. And that, just hearing that's what you're doing with the proceeds. Like, it's not about building the Bryan Crum brand or the Bryan Crum like empire. This is all going back into God's work through
right.
his ministry. And that is powerful. That's a generous goal, folks. Now if folks want to get in touch, the book is going to come out sometime around the time this episode airs. Where can folks go to buy that book?
Yeah, so we've got this handy dandy text thing set up. It's so cool. So if you text my name, it's Bryan. I spell it with a Y, Bryan. If you text Bryan to 66866, it'll take you to a page that's got all kinds of great stuff. They're like one-click buttons. So one button that you can click for the book, and one button you can click if you want to learn about the nonprofit. I think there's 4 buttons total. One button if you want to follow on social media. And then there's a button if you want to hear, more stories. If you want me to come to your church and tell you some more stories, I'd be happy to do that too. So I can be at your doorstep in a buttons click as well.
Nice.
So some good stuff there.
And it's called Eden Equipment. And so I think it sounds like the best way to go is text Bryan at 66866, as opposed to like go straight to Amazon or straight to Barnes and Noble, like, because there's other goodies in that site that you've got set up.
There are, yeah.
Now, before we head out, are there any like final words of wisdom you want to share with folks listening in?
Oh, wow. That's so good. So I think the main thing is you are enough. Like that's the main message, is God made you enough. We all are enough. That it's so powerful. It's so simple, but the more you think about it, the more it really rings true.
Yeah, I love that. That's powerful. Bryan, it's been awesome having you on this show, and I'm glad we connected even prior to this, and I look forward to staying in touch with you as the years go on.
Oh, me too, Jerry. I feel like I got a new friend. I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, when you're in Dallas, give me a call.
You got it. You got
Awesome.
it.